Hey there, Cinephiles. Today I'm here to talk about Barbarian. And all I gotta say is, what the fuck? Before I get into this absolute insanity that is Barbarian, I will say I barely knew a thing about this movie and it optimized my viewing experience. So, I suggest going into this movie as blindly as possible. That being said, Barbarian is essentially about Tess, played by Georgina Campbell, who goes to an accidentally already occupied Airbnb where Keith, played by Bill Skarsgård, is staying. From here on out, there's an ominous evil within the house, so it's up to Tess and the audience to figure out what exactly is going on. Georgina Campbell plays a very likable and real lead. She was just going through some life troubles and happened to end up in an extraordinarily weird situation, and without giving away anything yet, her back and forth with Bill Skarsgård helps create such an interesting first act. Speaking of Skarsgård, he is truly an actor I want to see more of. His nice guy-esque energy meshes well with the eerie and creepy undertone of him and the film itself. Funny too how his character and I share a birthday though. When Tess and Keith are on the screen, this movie works to its highest potential. Especially in the first half of the film, the tension is gripping and I remember shaking my head at so many moments. There is a point when the film shifts and it's around the halfway mark. It shifts to the point of practically feeling like a different film, but then it ties in well with the first half and then there's another story jump. Once again, they all tie together and weave a truly interesting experience, albeit with a not so great ending, but it's all forgiven as the overall experience isn't compromised. In each of these shifts, there's a smart decision of having distinct filming choices. Lenses are swapped along with other visual differences to create different vibes within the story. To get into these themes, I will now issue a spoiler warning, so please go and watch this as soon as you can and come back to the video. This is what Men Should Have Been. Yes, the movie that came out earlier this year, directed by Alex Garland. The themes of different levels of toxicity in men, aka how much of a barbarian they are, is well shown in this film. This is a heightened dissection of men and their differentiating levels of behavior. Let's start with Keith. He rambles, is awkward, and doesn't quite understand all of the trials and tribulations that a woman goes through. There's a conversation between Keith and Tess in which Tess is discussing how if the tables were turned, she would simply not trust Keith in any way, shape, or form. To which Keith is a bit confused but decides to ask more, and for her to elaborate on her feelings while sort of playing the not all guys card. It of course isn't truly all of his character, as surprisingly he turns out to be decent until he meets his grim end. Halfway through the film, we jump to AJ, played by Justin Long, which in itself was a jump scare to me. Didn't expect Dodgeball, a true underdog story star / the voice of Alvin from the live-action Alvin and the Chipmunks, Justin Long, to show up here. But it's a welcome surprise as his character helps hammer home the message of men being awful. The sex this time, not the movie. He plays this entitled director douchebag who just received the news of a terrible sex allegation towards him, and rather than truly owning up to it, he tries to fight it while calling the victim derogatory names. Due to this, he barely has any money left, so he goes to one of his houses in Detroit, which is where the film had been taking place. The absolute dirtbag nature of AJ is displayed here, as the whole time he's viewing more of the horrifying revelations of his household, he just decides to measure the newfound square footage so he may list the house for sale. He does a lot of shady things that are sadly believable of the men that are akin to his character, including nearly killing Tess to try and save himself, but then practically blaming her for slipping. Gratefully, his death is quite gruesome. Getting into the last actual male character and the third timeline we spend a little time in, we get introduced to Frank in the 80s. The true villain of them all, the biggest and most disgusting barbarian. His sick and twisted story is one that I don't think I'm allowed to speak on here, at least not explicitly. Once again, there's a great stylistic choice when we see his story, and I personally wish we got to see a bit more. But his impact is truly felt due to his evil, when we get what is thought to be the evil creature called the Mother, but it turns out that she is unfortunately a byproduct of Frank, which mirrors how destructive many men can be to the lives of women around them. The writer-director Zach Krager is able to make wonderful parallels of all the men in the film and the various shades of barbarianness. Barbarian is a film of terror and tension, with the twisted aspects of reality being a bit heightened in parts. The overall ideas of toxicity and misogyny and of course incest are portrayed in such a way that the themes are woven well into the story. I give Barbarian a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It opened up to number 1 at the box office with $10 million, and I honestly hope that this film continues to reach success through word of mouth. So please go now and watch this movie in theaters for a truly great start to spooky season. Let me know if you guys have seen Barbarian yet, and let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, thank you guys for watching, liking, and subscribing. Stay tuned for more Yeti Films content, and I'll watch you later.